Welcome to the Fantasy Addicts Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Mike the Fantasy Addict, joined as always by co-host Nikki B.
That is me.
And we are streaming live on Twitch.
We'll do it live!
All right, a lot of things going on. We just finished up our drafts. We got one left, one auction draft left to go. Let's five down for me. How many did you do?
Is it the most nerve-wracking one for you? I've got 2 down with, I think, 2 to go.
Okay, I am not a... you're in one without me? I didn't even realize.
My cousin is asking me to join one with them, so I don't know.
When you're a big fantasy football internet celebrity, people start asking you to join these things.
I know. Do we join all of them?
I do know.
Yes, you do.
I think 5 is a good number. I pushed it to 6. There was a hot second where I was looking at 8, but a couple of them folded, so...
That's a lot.
Yeah, the one is the set it and forget it. We did a best ball.
I saw one Redditor saying they were in, I think 42 leagues.
There are people that do. I've seen up. I think the most I saw was 200, but he had some level of software where you could multi-manage, something like that, where he, I think, would plug players in and it would optimize.
I guess if you think you're really good at fantasy football and you can get in enough places where you can make money off of it, I guess.
If you had the tech savvy and time and knowledge dedicated to just, setting up the algorithms, allowing things to kind of mass manage it, especially if you played in leagues with more kind of novice players, I think, you could make it. That's not where I'm at yet. Yeah. We're going to try and make our millions with the show, the podcast here. So the first thing I want to talk about, big news for the NFL. What is coming back this year? You want to tell the people?
Go ahead. If you haven't. The Nickelodeon game.
Yes, it is back.
It's back.
Slime Vision and
for sure the SpongeBob goalposts.
The MVP. So this year it will be the wild card game. And have they announced which division?
I didn't see which division.
So hopefully the Bills can get back, and maybe we can get a repeat MVP. We're calling for it now. If Mitch Trubisky gets back to this game, we will be leading the charge to get him a second MVP award.
That would be, just for the memes alone, we'd have to do it.
Hey, Bam, welcome in. Happy to have you.
Welcome in, indeed.
The Nickelodeon game, we're excited for it. A lot going on. There was the cut deadline, so we had a couple interesting players cut. I'll just jump right to it. None more interesting, I believe, than the cutting of Cam Newton from the New England Patriots.
It really does change things kind of in
the
Patriots.
I was hopeful that perhaps young McCorkle-Jones could take over the starting job and get a chance at it. But I did not see that they would let Cam go. He wasn't on a massive, contract that was really hurting him for the.
I think it's more of a respect level thing,
That's kind of, I've heard it framed as they did it out of respect for Cam.
Marcy? How are you?
And the other thing that I saw was that they did it because they want for young McCorkle to be able to take over the locker room, become the leader, and not have some Cam guys and some Matt guys, to take the pressure off a little bit. Right. So it's interesting because Mac Jones, kind of his career was as, not the starter where he just kept showing up and putting in the work and then eventually took over the job. So now the role is reversed and he's just the guy right away.
Well, that's why I feel like it's almost Belichick calling his shot. It's just like,
there you go.
Done it again. Just might as well just go out there and start so we can win the Super Bowls now.
The whole time feel like Belichick just hated Cam's stupid outfits at the end of games. Like, of anything that I could see just bothering Bill, it would just be Cam out there with his straw hat and his just who knows what he's doing. Bill to Cam.
This guy, this is not my kind of guy.
I always got that feeling, but
I don't know. They seem to be. I feel like Bill always backed him up. Whenever anything happened, he goes, "No, Cam's our guy." We'd love to have Cam
agree.
back.
I think that just on the surface, that's what you got. But
Bill Belichick,
that old curmudgeon, that after a loss, when Cam's at the podium wearing those outfits, he's just like, "We got to get this guy out of here."
Next, somebody else.
Hey, Marcy, happy to have you. Welcome in.
And it sounds like the Cowboys are not interested in Cam at this time.
Yeah, the one that I thought would be the interesting landing spot that a couple people have floated is going to the Texans. They're kind of in that, Deshaun is on the team, not cut, not released, not traded.
I don't think anybody wants to go to that dumpster fire.
So he is taking up a roster spot and just practicing on the field over there.
Just hanging out.
And
they're not practicing at all today because they're at a team bonding barbecue.
Yeah. So you think he's
getting
there?
things together.
I bet she's not there.
You don't think so?
No.
Really, he's at the team barbecue.
No, unless they have a complimentary back ribs.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. So that's where we're at with the Patriots. The implications. So my guy Ramondre Stevenson. I got to share this. We did a best ball league the other day.
We don't have to share this.
Nick was picking right before me.
You have no proof.
And he reached a large reach for Ramondre Stevenson, and he was correct. That was definitely the guy I was going with next. So welcome to Team Ramondre. Nick and I, we're all in to the moon.
I just knew if Ramondre, if he pans out and you have just been touting him hard this whole time, I'll never hear the end of it. So I'd rather just have a piece of it as well so I can enjoy it with you than just never hear the end of it. So that is why I bought in, and it's a best ball. So if he's the touchdown guy for the Patriots, maybe that's valuable. Who knows?
There you go.
Cam's going to the Bishop Sycamores. That's right.
Yep.
Did you hear this whole Bishop Sycamore story?
I saw the picture that you posted in our Discord, but I should tell the people.
So Bishop Sycamore is basically a bunch of dudes that got together and said, "We're a high school, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." All right, so they filed the paperwork and then got into like high school football
ESPN
games.
Show.
Yeah, and got into ESPN playing an NFL game, or not an NFL game, but a high school game. But they're like 20 years old, like 19 years old, like not high school students, and just made up that they're high school.
The part of the story that I had gotten was that they represented themselves as a high school team with a lot of like D1 athletes and great prospects, and ESPN was like, "Believe you." So they just brought the cameras and
right. Well, they played IMG, which is like sponsored by
school,
IMG, and they lost all their games last season too. So
they are a high school though. It's not old guys, is it?
No, they're not a high school.
I thought it was a high school.
It's not
it was
a high
just
school.
a bad at football high school.
No, they have no association with the high school sports association.
Outrageous. Outrageous.
Yeah, just bananas.
Like, what even possessed them to like, hey, like, let's go just get murdered on TV and
like, hey, do you have students? Like, oh yeah, we got students.
Yeah,
where are they? Like, they got nothing. Just
That's
nothing.
not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
I don't understand that story. So, like, again, what do you have to gain from going out there and just getting whooped by a good high school? Like, hey, we get to just be on TV getting murdered by high school kids.
Yeah, who knows?
That's not a good look.
Well,
I
know, but they even gave like the rosters like for the games to the people, and like they weren't even matching what was on the field. Like they were just getting guys to come play that week that weren't like rostered anyway. It's just all wild.
It's also interesting, like that older guys you think would put up more of a fight against high schoolers. High school, right. Like, you know, a senior in high school is basically, you know, your full.
Yeah, but still, the best high school athletes are probably going to beat the crap out of just guys.
Yeah, I was thinking like a 21-year-old me would destroy an 18-year-old me. Like,
I don't know. We're talking about elite athletes here. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
You think it would even it up more, but apparently it was still not even close.
Nope, they got blown out anyway.
All right, so let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, so for the other Patriots, though, that helps James White a lot. He's a guy that's been, you know, useful for PPR in the past. Didn't have a good year last year. He missed a couple games. I think his father passed away, but a lot of that was because Cam didn't really check the ball down.
I'm interested in Jacoby, too.
McCorkle will check the ball down, you know, a lot more often than Cam would have, and I think it helps. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking, it's like, this helps every offensive piece for the Patriots, right? Every wide receiver you're happier for, every running back you're happier for.
What it does is it gives them a chance. You know, before they were completely written off as not prime assets, and now it's like, hey, there's a chance that these guys are going to be pretty good.
Well, yeah, because what Cam was bad at was throwing, so it hurts the wide receivers. What he was good at is running the ball in the red zone, so it hurts the running backs.
It creates opportunity.
I agree. I like Damian Harris. You were talking about you're not really in on him, but I know that team wants to run. Their wide receiver core is not very elite. I think that Harris should get plenty of opportunity.
I'm warming up to the fact just a little bit because I actually looked at some of the numbers. I saw there was a post from Reddit. Go figure. And somebody like Cam Newton had like 19 rushes in the red zone that will all be going away essentially, you know, and several rushing touchdowns, obviously.
Yeah, and they returned some offensive linemen. Their offensive line is going to be better. Their defense is going to be better.
And I like Damian Harris like as a running back. I think he's like probably above average, but just the line and the offensive consistency was always the issue.
Yeah, what scares me is just the history that the Patriots have of not just kind of using a workhorse guy. They like to spread it around. There'll be one game where they'll just throw a wide receiver in to run the ball the whole game. Like weird stuff.
But I think that's where the hype for Ramondre comes in, because the last time we saw it was when James White was catching passes and LeGarrette Blount was rushing in touchdowns. I mean, Garrett Blount had 18 touchdowns, and James White was still very usable as a running back.
Yeah, so a stack that I have done is the Damian Harris Ramondre stack, just because Ramondre's my guy. I like to have him. He's a guy that a lot of people are nobody's as excited about Ramondre Stevenson as me. I am the truther. I am the number one fan. So I've been able to get him with like the last pick in a lot of drafts, except for when Pocket sniped me in the listener league, because it's hard to draft with people who know all the things you're going to do.
Yeah.
And he did quite the reach. So the thing that is nice, though, is he is a Patriots fan who I know is paying attention to that team. So if he believes too, the hype,
it's good.
It's hard to have a better preseason than he did.
Sure.
And obviously, the preseason means nothing, but it might mean something. So Ramondre, I'm happy for. James White, I think he's going to be one of those guys that if you grab late in a draft, you might have a guy you can just plug in if you need 9-10 points. You know, it's not great, but it's just nice on those bye weeks or at the end of the draft when there's no running backs and you forgot to get some guys.
Kareem Hunt at this point.
More a PPR guy. A real poor man's Kareem Hunt. So I'm excited for them. Nelson Aguilar would be the wide receiver that I would pick in that backfield. They just paid him. He had a good year for the Raiders. Other people are higher on Jacoby Myers. So you kind of pick your poison, see what shakes out.
Yeah, I'd probably roll Jacoby at this point just for the price point.
Okay.
And just that.
They're both going late enough you can take the chance and see how it goes.
For sure. But Jacoby had put together some really good games last year. And if he can be a little more consistent with, getting some passes from McCorkle, then I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Somebody's got to catch him.
All right, so that's our rundown. The guy had Xavier Jones for the Rams. He got cut, hurt his ankle, so they put him on kind of like the injury wave. So we'll see if he gets re-signed to the team.
Yeah, but after the Sony Michel trade.
I agree. So let's talk about that just a little bit. Rams backfield, would you rather have Daryl Henderson or Sony Michel?
I would probably rather have Henderson at this point.
Okay, and Henderson is going ahead in drafts right now, and the narrative is that Sony Michel, he's old, he's washed, he's not good, he doesn't catch passes. Sony Michel, I believe he's 26 years old, maybe 26 and a half, was a first-round draft pick, averaged 5.2 yards per carry last year. People are concerned about his health. I think he's been healthy for over the past 12 months. I looked on Player Profiler. It has a little rundown of former injuries. He's got some that are in the mid-level of reoccurrence. I think he had thigh and ankle injuries.
But I think that's kind of the problem is he is healthy and we're still not hearing anything from him. I mean, if he was good enough, he'd get on the field. Like I said, I think Damian Harris is solid, he's definitely in the top probably 24 running backs in the league. But, if Sony Michel is like a guy, then why wouldn't he be playing more?
I think that Sony Michel has a chance to be the lead running back.
He was the lead running back.
I'll give him a 25% chance to take over the Rams backfield, and I think that'll make him relevant. And
3 years ago, he was a starter for the Patriots, and then
he had a good year. They had a playoff run, and a lot of his good production came in the playoffs.
But he got touchdowns.
Yeah. I think that he's a guy that where he's going right now, I just bought him in Dynasty. I traded 2 seconds and a third for him and a first, so...
Again, that was on a Tom Brady offense when they were scoring a ton, and Sony still wasn't getting a lot of the work. I mean, he was getting, 12 carries and 1 or 2 touchdowns on that 12 carries for like 50 yards. I mean, It was solid only because of the touchdown quantity.
I think right now they want it to be a split, kind of like what you saw with Cam Akers and Daryl Henderson at the start of last year. But they both have some injury concerns, but I think Daryl Henderson already had a thumb injury, so we don't know necessarily how bad that is. I think just where he's going, Sony Michel, if you can buy him for cheap in Dynasty, if you can throw him on the end of a bench, is worth just getting a look at for the first couple of games.
I'll take the guy that's been with the team for a year.
That's fair.
That's been practicing with Stafford all off season. And if he has a hot start, which I think that offense is going to have a hot start, then I could see him just keeping the role for a while.
So again, I've got Sony on 2 teams, one in Dynasty, and the other thing, just a quick note about the Rams, is they gave up, I believe, a 4th and a 6th to get him. So that's decent kind of trade capital. And they don't have a lot of things to get new running backs with. So maybe they go ahead and they sign him again next year. I'm not sure how many years he's locked up for.
Sony isn't a ball catcher out of the backfield. I would agree.
Sony was a ball catcher out of the backfield in college. The Patriots didn't use him that way. So that's another thing that I hope possibly could go up for Sony. But did they not use him
because they had James White?
Yes. Okay. And the Patriots have classically, they didn't really throw the ball to Damian Harris. Damian Harris can catch.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Dubfire, welcome in. New look. Yeah, we got a couple new lights and moved to the basement.
Yeah, we're getting more handsome by the day. I think that's what it is. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the chat. We were kind of jumping into the Patriots.
Yeah, Pocket said don't forget about Jonnu and Hunter Henry too. I agree.
That's a good point.
They're both cheap enough now that you can just take one, and test it out and see if it turns into something.
Yeah, and best ball Jonnu is a nice one to just throw on there. I think he's going to be the more productive. But
yeah, I grabbed Hunter Henry in our best ball. I think he's shown that he can catch touchdowns, so hopefully he can do that. Henderson easy says Pocket. I'm just hoping Raheem Mostert stays healthy, says Bambo. I'm really selling Raheem Mostert this year.
Yeah, I'm on the same. I was a little bit starting to buy in, and he got an injury in camp. It sounds like he's fine. He came back, played in the preseason, looked good.
Raheem Mostert, if he has
already a hint of injury,
if he starts the season with one or two good performances,
I'd move him. However, let's say he misses a little bit of the early season and comes back at the end. They just have a really nice slate in the playoffs. So it's not impossible. I've been leaning more the direction.
But that's not his price right now.
Yeah.
He's being priced.
I have been leaning more the direction of I want to have Sermon because I think that he'll take over and Mostert will get hurt and not be there for the end of the year. But it's not impossible that Mostert misses part of the early season. They save him and they use him at the end. So that's the problem with the 49ers is – while both guys exist, they can both be relevant, but won't hit their ceilings. But Sermon's the guy that I've been betting on. He's the one that I've been taking in drafts. I have a couple of shares of Trey Sermon.
Yeah, give me the guy that they drafted. Hey, guys, says Mets Rock. What's going on, man?
Marcy says, probably not.
How do you feel about your team? Are you figuring things out, Mets? And how about
Happy to see you, Mets.
We got a guy in our best ball league now. His team name is Buez for the Baez booing. Did you hear this whole thing?
I did see the Buez. Yeah. Oh, he gave a thumbs down. Come on. Yeah. Come on.
I think all Mets fans just hate him now.
Greg is in the chat. Let me find his sign on.
Go Bears!
There it is. Welcome in, Greg. Let's see here. So for standard scoring leagues, the rule is no quarterbacks till round 8. Does that rule change a bit this year with dynamic quarterbacks like Mahomes, Lamar, and RBs getting hurt like crazy, says Dubfire.
It's interesting. Dubfire in the standard league. We haven't had a lot of people playing in the standard leagues as of late, but the QBs I think you can wait on this year in a 1 QB league because there are a lot of guys with upside. A guy I was hoping to get in best ball that I missed out on was Zack Wilson. The reports about Zack Wilson, we were a little kind of tentative about him when we were doing our rookie draft, but
there's
been
a
very good camp. I'm hearing the Mahomes comparisons as far as
Favre saying he's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so a little bit of smoke there, and they do have a lot of decent pass catching options. Their backfield, as far as their running backs, isn't great, so that hurts them a little, but maybe they need to lean towards the throwing. The Jets, they could be in some of those shootout games. Zack Wilson is a guy that I, in one league, did throw on my bench just to get a look how those first – and he has a nice matchup week 1. So if you wait and you miss out on the guys that you were hoping for, Zack Wilson, nice little guy that you could grab.
I think if you're in a keeper league, it might be good to just draft him really late.
Yeah,
if you can get him.
And people are onto the Trey Lance. You're getting a lot of the shows where they're saying, hey, throw Trey Lance on your bench at the end of the draft, and maybe he pans out and is huge and a league winner, maybe a great keeper. I think Zack Wilson is the new Trey Lance because now people are taking Trey Lance up high.
He'll just keep flip-flopping
Zach,
with every hype train.
The baby-faced assassin.
Sogo, welcome in. Marcy inviting everybody. See, just
there you go.
So accommodating.
So welcoming. Marcy's the best.
Oh, man.
Joined our best ball league at last minute, saved us because we had
round of applause for Marcy.
Always.
The last minute ad, super helpful, as always. Doing the whole Discord thing. Discord's popping off now.
Well, because we appreciate you, we got you a yes emote. We're announcing it on the show today, so that'll be ready for you soon.
Yep. Hopefully
it's happening. It's a real thing. Nick's been working hard. He's we got him doing some things for the show, so we got a couple of things coming out that we're excited about. We'll let you know when they're dropping
for sure. I'm just ready for next Sunday. as well.
Oh,
next Sunday
football?
is going to be
real football?
when we can do the show and have real football.
We've been talking about it all off season. The teams, like I said, for me, all but one is drafted. Oh,
I'm looking forward to it. I think I play Bambo week 1. I don't know who you play.
Me, I have. I know.
Remember.
I got Chris in the best ball. I've got. I'm not sure.
Our
I'll have to
listener
look at them
league.
all.
Nope, I have Banjo week 1.
I'm busy looking at my
Banjo.
teams. I'm not even looking at the other teams right now.
Right.
Optimizing.
Saved up his exactly. I had to save him up for the stream.
Oh, yeah.
You guys think Chubb Hubbard's worth a roster spot if you have McCaffrey since he was banged up all year and that they signed Freeman?
Yeah, I don't think the Freeman signing scares you too much. Freeman couldn't crack, the top 3 on the Denver for the past, 3 years he's been there.
Yeah.
I think he was a 3rd-round draft pick.
I mean, he lost his job to an undrafted free agent, Lindsey.
Yeah, he hasn't impressed.
Summit, welcome in. Keenan Allen or DK in PPR?
Keenan in PPR. He's gonna get more receptions. He
I
was
would
getting
agree.
10 targets a game last year. Their offensive line is going to be better. Mike Williams is already hurt. I think Keenan is going to be a target monster.
Yeah, and I think if you're in best ball, I'd take DK maybe just for the upside in games, but I think he's going to be a little inconsistent, but still good. I'll take Keenan. I know Mike loved Tasty Hasty last year, so if Moser goes down, then maybe.
I wouldn't say I love Tasty. I think I grabbed him off the waivers for nothing late in the year when he was going to have a chance at being the guy. No, he would not be the guy. I think that Trey Sermon would be the one I would like. And then a guy we haven't talked about a lot, but that was on the radar before the actual NFL draft, Elijah Mitchell. We talked about a lot of the guys they had on the team were undrafted free agents. They actually spent draft capital, a 6th-round pick to get him. A lot of the analysts really kind of liked his tape. He's got a good size for kind of more of a guy that can take some punishment. So he's a guy that could get the work in.
Normally, I wouldn't be interested at all, but with how many injuries the 49ers have.
And just how they use multiple running backs and every guy they seem to plug in, no matter who they are,
if
seems
anything,
to be
just
good.
be familiar with the name, because if you see 49ers
So, Elijah Mitchell,
injured,
he was taken in the very last round of our 19-round best ball league. I was going to grab him, but the one I ended up going with was just another late-round sleeper. I took DJ Dallas, the running back for the Seattle Seahawks. That team wants to run a lot. I think that Chris Carson has had some injury history. He misses
Bambo
time.
in the chat right now, is Penny worth a hold in case Carson goes down?
Rashad Penny, I think he is, but Penny also has a pretty significant injury history. He looked okay in the preseason. I thought he looked heavier than in the past. DJ Dallas is a good pass catcher. He struggled with pass protection last year, but he's on the team. He's got some talent.
I'm passing on the entire
Penny
Seahawk
would be the one I would
backfield.
roster over DJ Dallas right now. But if you see that Penny's got a hangnail and they're not real excited about him, DJ Dallas would be the guy that if Chris Carson goes down, everybody's going to run out for Penny. Maybe you take a look at DJ.
Manatee Handies, welcome in. Welcome back. Excited about football coming up for sure. It's that crappy Niners turf. Same thing in New York. And we were talking about that. I think something's wrong with the field or the training staff. The Bears had the same thing. Bad turf. Guess what? Players got hurt all the time. People hated coming here to play.
You'd think they could
never
change
could
it.
figure out the spike situation,
Give it a little change.
Yeah, but they weren't allowed to. That was the thing with the field in Chicago. Soldier Field, they wouldn't let them change the turf
Why don't they just let them change it?
because they wanted to host soccer matches and rugby matches, and they can't play on artificial turf. So the park district would not allow them to put fake turf in. Ethan Roush, welcome in football. Exactly.
All right.
One of our league moids.
I was trying to get a trade done with Ethan. I've got James White on my bench. I'm not going to be able to. I have to drop one player. He's probably not the guy that I would drop, but I would like to trade him away if I could get just a little bit. I was trying to get a 4th for him. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
If I had the roster spot, I would definitely keep him. If I was a team that needed running back, I think you could do worse than a 4th for James White. 4th-round picks in our league are not super valuable, but sometimes you can package them with other things, throw them in as a sweetener. They're not useless, but James White, like I said, he's not going to be a guy with a high ceiling, but he has pretty consistently had a decent just reception floor. And if he can go out there, catch 5 balls for 50 yards, that's kind of his bread and butter where he lives. So just a good fill-in when you need some points.
So go Yay Sports. Go Team,
Yay
says Marcy.
Sports. Sports are great.
Bambo says Boyd or Tyrell Williams, week 1.
Oof. Don't like that. Boyd.
Yeah. Lions playing the 49ers. That's kind of rough. Yeah, I'm going to go Boyd here.
Especially if Jamar Chase, I think he's definitely going to get it together. He's going to start playing well. He's going to take over. But that first couple of games, maybe Boyd is still pretty involved. He's been around longer, knows the playbook.
Anti-Handies, why are people down on Kenyon Drake? Did you answer this?
Oh, wait. This is for you.
People are down on Kenyon Drake because he's just a guy. He goes from one team, flashes just a little bit, and then people realize, like, oh, this is just a jag. We can get rid of this guy. So they let him go or trade him to another team that says, hey, I think he's going to be good. And he just keeps passing around. But people like me know he's just not very good. Like, he's decent, but he's not good. He can't stay on a team. And I think Josh Jacobs, with the amount of volume he's been getting, he has been a 2-year starter there, top 10 running back 2 years in a row. Yes, they paid Kenyon Drake a little bit more money than just your standard backup, but I think that's just because Josh Jacobs does have a little injury history now after last year, and they just wanted some insurance. But I'm still on Josh Jacobs, and Kenyon Drake is just not even – I don't want to say he's even a good handcuff right now.
I think he's a pretty good handcuff just because there's not a lot of other guys on that roster that really scare you. Kenyon Drake, I want to say he finishes the 16th running back last year, so he's not as bad as Nick believes, but he's not great. They did pay him. They signed him to a 2-year contract. I want to say it was somewhere between $12 to $16 million, so a fair amount of money. They're going to use Drake. They're going to throw Drake the ball. Josh Jacobs won't have the same volume he did in the past because of Drake, but yeah, he's not a guy that you are really excited about. Even, again, if Josh Jacobs goes down, which I don't necessarily think he will, he might miss a couple games, but he's been pretty durable. He is pretty young. He's a tough guy.
2-year deal.
Kenyon's ceiling is just low. Okay, $11 million?
$8.5 million guaranteed at signing.
14.5 max or something?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was in the ballpark. Do I think people are sleeping on Mac Jones? A little bit. He's a starting quarterback on a team that has a history of being good. We do think it's going to be a run-first offense. He looked pretty good in the preseason. The thing about Mac Jones that makes you not excited is that he is not a runner. He is not a fluid-looking man when he is running with the ball. Lumbering, I think, was the word.
His job. He's not a running back. He's a quarterback.
But I don't think that he's going to hit massive yardage or touchdowns. The wide receiver core we talked about isn't great in New England right there. I like his future in Dynasty. If you got him late, I think you're pretty excited about how his trajectory has started right now. But yeah, I don't see him finishing in the top 15.
Who's a dark horse running back to drop Kenyon Drake for?
Ooh, I wouldn't drop him for the guys that are going after him necessarily. He's not worthless. He's going to catch balls.
You got anybody deep down that you think?
Ramondre Stevenson, Ramondre the Giant, the greatest running back.
I'd rather have Ramondre than Kenyon Drake.
I like Ramondre. Someone should accept Kenyon Drake for Ramondre, but it won't be me. But you probably should.
You guys think Dak can stay healthy for 17 games? Dak has not had any contact all preseason due to having a bad shoulder.
Dak's shoulder wasn't, something that he's going to get hit and re-aggravate. It was more just kind of that he was using it and it got a little kind of worn. Seems like he's good. He probably could have played the last preseason game if they needed him to. They just didn't need him to. The ankle seems good. He's had enough time for it to be on point. All the reports coming out are good.
So Jonnu's and Hunter stock go up. Just a slight uptick.
Because Cam probably would have thrown to the tight ends.
Maybe. I mean, he threw to Greg Olsen, but that's because they didn't really have anybody
I think the
else.
offense is going to move better. I think that,
I'm just not a big Jonnu fan. Mike would pick Jonnu of the two. I'd probably go Hunter.
I think Jonnu's more athletic. I think he's the better athlete. I think he's the better tight end. Hunter, he just benefited from his position.
Hunter Henry isn't like a great blocker.
And Hunter gets hurt every other year, so
our league mate has him nicknamed Mr. Glass. Yeah. So
he played played most of the games last year, but he's going to get hurt. They've both been hurt on and off through preseason.
For sure. And Marcy is done with Drake. Had enough.
Yeah. He's not a guy that you're real excited about.
Yeah. So who's somebody just in drafts that's been falling to you that you have been trying to snag?
All right, there are a handful of wide receivers that are going late. I have been trying to load up on running backs early in the draft, but a couple that have stood out to me. I'm getting a lot of Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver for the Colts. T.Y. Hilton on the injured reserve right now. Paris Campbell is coming back. He's had 2 years of injury in a row. He was starting later in the preseason games, so you know that he's kind of not the lead guy right now. Mike Strachan was I've heard Strahan Strachan, an undrafted free agent that's got a little bit of hype in the preseason.
For sure.
But and then Pascal's the other guy that are there. But Michael Pittman Jr., I think, is the most talented guy. He's got good draft capital. There was a little bit of hype last year. My knock on him is that he would just go out there and kind of run the same route over and over. Hopefully they've worked on expanding his route tree a little bit. And I'm excited about him. Good size for a wide receiver. Another guy I'm getting a lot of, I'm trying to get either Corey Davis or Elijah Moore in a lot of my drafts, and they're falling pretty low. I've actually had people reach for Corey Davis. He had a good kind of last end of the preseason. But Elijah Moore, the hype was out of control. He's a rookie for the Jets. Zack Wilson, because all the reports have been good on him, if they can kind of get in together, get in a rhythm, you might have to wait a little bit into the season. But I think it was what OBJ called him. It's just the comps, they're too much. They're comparing him to like elite Hall of Fame wide receivers already.
Too high.
Who are you getting?
I was shocked to see how far Saquon fell in our best ball draft. I know it's a little bit more elite time, but he fell to 2-1, I think, 112, 2-1. Which, if you're getting Saquon at that value, I mean, I feel like you got to take him there. I mean, that's
This guy. This is not
I'm taking no Saquon. No Saquon, no Zeke for me.
Nothing?
I don't even care how far.
Also, I think A.J. Brown in our draft went like as the 14th or 15th wide receiver, which is insane.
People are a little worried about the knee
Insane.
situation, Julio coming in.
I get that, but I'm still not letting A.J. Brown fall out the top 10 wide receivers drafted. I mean, he's good enough to be in that top 10 category for sure, with top 3 upside for sure.
Yeah, he was my keeper in a keeper league because I got to keep him for cheap. So I am invested. I'm not as excited. If I could go trade him for like Calvin Ridley right now, I'd probably make that move. But.
Yeah. The hype is real for CeeDee Lamb, though. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, in every draft, I'm getting CeeDee Lamb. This draft, I'm taking him early. And never early enough.
It's never early enough. Want it to be true, and I hate to be the bring it down to earth guy. Amari Cooper is very good. He's young. He's still there. Like, he had a little bit of injury through the preseason. I think he's good to go. That's kind of how Amari plays.
I wouldn't do it, but I would give strong consideration for just straight up trading Jefferson for CeeDee Lamb. Like
in just a redraft or in Dynasty. I'd rather have Lamb than Jefferson in Dynasty. Okay. And that largely because of the offense that he is attached to, and with Dak being there, I'm more excited for Dak than maybe one more year of Christian Kirk on a team that wants to run the ball. Their defense should be better, whereas the Cowboys' defense should be better, but they get stud linebackers. Got like 15 great linebackers and no DBs.
Nothing else.
So,
even notice Nick took Hunter over Jonnu last night. Are you high side bet? I don't want to do a side bet. I'm just looking for the guy that has the most touchdown upside, which I feel like Hunter has the most touchdown upside of the two. I don't know that they're going to be good at all. Just at all. So no side bet. I'm not a believer. That's just the best of the worst options I had left.
And we were also smoking lots of crack.
All of it.
Let's see. Other than week 6, my team's going to stomp. If you have to punt 1 week, you're fine. Extra game this year.
I drafted 2 quarterbacks and quickly realized they had the same bye week, so I just kept taking quarterbacks.
Yeah, Pocket asked a good question. It's something that's gotten overlooked a little bit. Were you guys surprised Larry Fitzgerald basically retired? Yeah, he just kind of was like, I kept looking for stuff like, is Larry Fitzgerald at training camp? Is he in the preseason?
That means AJ Green stonks. Just climbing.
They had enough old guys that aren't going to be good. I love Larry as a player. He's one of my favorite, actually, just like guys. He just seems like an awesome
The stat
dude,
of how many tackles he's had versus drops.
More tackles than drops is a phenomenal stat.
That's awesome.
I know I'm a big fan of Larry Fitzgerald, but he was past his prime. It was time for him to go. It is a little sad. I would have liked to see him do like a press conference, just because I think he is like such a decent guy and well spoken.
Yeah.
It'd be cool for all the players. That all the guys in that league would come out for him and say nice things. So maybe he still does have that at some point. But yeah, he just kind of was like feeling it out. He's like, I don't know if I really feel like it. And he just sort of faded away. So a little sad to see it. Hopefully he has his moment. But All right, we got Manatee says, I've been saving my lottery last pick for Trey Lance, and that's a great last pick, but that's not working in the leagues we're playing in. People are taking him before the last pick. The one I've been trying to do is Ramondre, and people are starting to grab on Ramondre.
I think the rookies coming in have been pretty good as of late, and I don't know that we're just going to keep getting that lucky. I mean, we've had Josh Allen come in and be really good. We've had Kyler Murray come in and be really good. Burrow and Herbert last year both started really hot, and it's just like, oh, all these rookies are just going to be good at football. And it's like, no, normally this takes time. It takes a couple years for the quarterbacks to kind of get adjusted, but it's been working out lately. I just don't think, Mac Jones, Lance, and Fields are all being drafted like top 15.
Yeah, and the big thing for Fields and Lance are that people are excited for their upside. I think I saw that. Fields was the first quarterback to run a sub 4.4 in the combine, and I don't know how long, but he's got speed. He's ran in the preseason. He's looked good. That offensive line, he's going to need to scramble. They're not good, especially with Jenkins out. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that players are coming in a little bit more pro-ready than possibly in the past. There have been a lot of guys that have panned out. They've got the job, and they've been good. I'm going to keep believing it until it stops working, I guess. I've got a lot of rookies on my teams. We did the listener league, and I looked at it, and nobody has a picture. I'm like, oh, I took too many rookies.
And I think that gets down to it where we find our elite guys. We know they're going to be good. They're same offenses, same scheme, same quarterback, all the good stuff. And then later on, it's like you can pick between not very good players that are in okay spots, or you can pick between
high upside
rookies, which I mean, 2020, was very good to us with rookies coming in and being really good starting out. But, it's worth the shot because these guys could take jobs immediately, and, it's just more upside for sure.
Yeah, another rookie that I got a lot of shares of was Devonte Smith, wide receiver for
I was
the
actually
Eagles.
going to take him last night if he got to me.
I've loosened heavily on our no Eagles policy. It's a new year. They were awful last year. Can't be worse, right? So
they could.
Yeah, Smith.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one for show. For show. I'm getting that for show.
I like where he was going. The reports are that he's definitely going to be the number one target. He looked good in the one preseason game. He gets open.
I don't believe it, but if it's late enough, again, I'll take a high upside rookie. Probably still not from the Eagles, but
the thing about him though is that one of his strengths was route running, and route running is one of the things that translates well from the college game to the NFL. He was a Heisman winner. If he had 20 more pounds on him, he'd be going up there with Jamar Chase. So
for sure,
he was a guy.
Are you souring on Jamar Chase?
I am tentative, and if given the choice of Jamar Chase, some formats it's interesting. We'll have Chase going first and Higgins going next. I think Sleeper does. In Yahoo, it's the other way around. I am leaning Higgins a little bit more just because I think it's safe. I think he's going to be good. You've seen it with him already. But Chase, he's still going high enough. You're like, if it is
so uncomfortable.
If it is real that he's not good and that he's lost it, that he can't play anymore, you're in trouble if you take him there. I got him on one team. So that I hedged a little. I want to have him on one team.
I had Chase on one team as well.
And you might have to wait. So even if he's great at the end of the year, you got to hold him through the tough times.
Right.
Another little note about holding guys through the tough times. We talk about all these young running backs that have panned out and have worked out. A lot of these guys we forget because we have short memories. It took a while for J.K. Dobbins to get going and get the role. It took a while for Jonathan Taylor to get going and get the role. Cam Akers. It took a while for Swift. It took it's not necessarily
not a lock right out
you're
the
going to
gate.
just take those stud running backs that got drafted highly and they're going to be great right away. So
Najee, a little bit of different situation.
Najee should get the opportunity, but he could have a similar, kind of Jonathan Taylor, where the team's not great at running the ball. Right. I hate how he hurdles guys. It's great for
I think one guy
but
that's become a valuable piece right now too is Javonte Williams. I mean, there's more hype around him being him the number one right out of the gate.
I think that the reports that I have heard, there were a couple at the start of camp that it was him, and now I've heard the swing back that Melvin Gordon's looked good. He looked good in the preseason game that I saw. They are still paying him good money. He is still pretty. He looked fresh last year.
The last preseason game they played Melvin Gordon, who's a veteran, already knows the offense for a year, and they sat Javonte Williams just to keep him healthy. So that would lead me to believe a little bit that he's probably going to be the one, at least get more opportunities.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because he's being drafted still pretty late.
They traded up for him. They like him. He's
sure.
a good running back. He was in the top, kind of 5 prospects going into the draft before the landing spot. Here's a question for you. Who will start first, Lance or Fields? And because Lance has a little bit of a finger injury, I'm going to go Fields.
I would say...
Who's a better Fields. Quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo or Andy Dalton?
Probably Dalton.
That's interesting.
It's
close, though, right?
No. I really don't like Garoppolo.
Dalton.
Really don't like Garoppolo.
Okay.
So I've been seeing some hot takes around the internets, and one of the hot takes is Andy Dalton doesn't lose his job all year.
All year? So let's say even Andy Dalton is good, and they're winning games, they're winning close ones. The problem with Andy Dalton, and his history would indicate he can't win in the playoffs. Like, is it worth winning the whole regular season? Let's say they win 14 games, they're going to make the playoffs, and he loses the first playoff game. Would you rather have that happen?
If they go 12-5 and they
17-0 Bears,
and they score 27 or more points per game average, I don't really care about the playoffs.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
I would rather,
because that is football I can watch.
Because I think you have a better chance of winning actual playoff games with Justin Fields. You got to get him in there sometime because you're not winning playoffs with Andy Dalton.
I see winning a championship.
That's my take.
I'm a Bears fan. Winning a championship is just pure fantasy at this point.
Winning a playoff game. Who gives you a better chance to win a playoff game?
I mean,
it's got to be Fields.
A rookie quarterback winning you a playoff game? Maybe.
Behind this line, Dalton's going to get murdered, and he's just going to be out to injury, and everybody kind of wins.
Except Andy Dalton.
No, even Andy Dalton, because he's like, oh, I didn't get benched, so I got my back broken.
49ers opening schedule is so easy, going to be tough to bench Jimmy.
Their closing schedule is nice as well. But yeah,
nice
Jimmy, the thing about Jimmy, they spent, I think I saw a stat that quarterbacks drafted within the first 5 picks of the NFL draft start within 4 weeks, 95%. It was like an overwhelming statistic that those guys get a chance because if you drafted them, you don't love your quarterback, even if he comes out and plays okay.
Right.
Still possible that he gets moved if a quarterback goes down. I could see him reaching out. And
Manti Handy's Larry Fitzgerald was up for Heisman against Jason White and Eli Manning. I'm not sure about that, but that's pretty crazy if true.
I would have guessed he would be significantly older than Eli, but maybe not.
Eli played for a long time.
He's got a baby face.
True. Bambo, what do you guys think about Singletary Moss battle once again this year?
I don't want either.
I don't want either.
They were both on the team last year. They were both kind of split, and neither one of them was very good for fantasy.
Here's the thing.
Fantasy.
I think Josh Allen will lessen some of his running work this year because it was a little crazy last year and the touchdowns. And I think if they're going to give up some of the touchdown opportunities to a running back, it's going to be Moss. So I would be taking Moss above Singletary. But there's other guys I like that are being taken around their value in drafts.
Nick has a saying that, like, you're not going to win if you're playing those guys. I often disagree, but if those are the guys you got, because even if the other one's gone, like, how high is their ceiling? How many points are they going to be putting up? Moss will punch in some touchdowns.
Moss has the best chance of a multi-touchdown game. So that's who I would want. If I'm down a bunch of points, I need to start a running back, and I have one guy that gets 5 points a week, or Moss who goes 2-2, 14, 2-2, 14. I'd rather throw in Moss.
I liked Moss last year. I drafted him all over the place as a rookie, and a large reason for that was because Singletary, they didn't like to give it to him in the red zone. I think he had like 1 carry within the 5 all of last year, his last year before Moss came in, and it wasn't a fun ride. It wasn't good. He was hurt. He wasn't hurt. When he got in, he looked good, but he didn't get the touchdown. I think he's a decent player, but I don't like his situation. I don't want the Bills running backs, even though that offense is good. It's an interesting dynamic.
Bambo, what's going on with Tariq Cohen? Haven't heard about him in a while.
Oh, man.
So
Cohen sucked.
And it's still true. So that's where we're at with Cohen.
I think Tariq Cohen's injury was a pretty serious injury.
He is on the injured reserve right now for the Chicago Bears. Yeah. I don't believe he'll be eligible to return. He's not on the PUP, so it should be 3 weeks. This year, this is a good note, too.
Yeah.
This year,
which
the
is
injured
great
reserve,
for fantasy football.
100%. I like it a lot. They changed the injured reserve rules last year, so you could go on a 3 week injured reserve. So that's the injured reserve. The pup you're out for, is it 7?
6.
6?
You have to be activated within 6 weeks.
Okay, so if you're placed on the
Or
pup.
after 6, from week 6 to week 9 to activate, I think is what it is.
All right, so an example of a guy on the pup right now is Michael Thomas.
Yes.
The soonest you're getting him back is, in that kind of week 7 range. And then you could go on the season-ending IR, which is when you're placed on the IR before they had the cut down to the roster. So guys like Travis Etienne and J.K. Dobbins are on that season-ending IR.
And you can still get put on that during the season.
Well, that is confusing sometimes, and to know the difference.
But there's another big change about the IR, because it used to be when you put people on the IR, you can only bring back, I think, 1 guy, and then they changed it to 2 guys. So
I believe it's even more. I thought it was unlimited or like 4.
That's what it used to be.
Okay.
With COVID rules, you can bring back as many people as you want, and it only costs you 3 weeks. So a huge change for the IR rules, which have made it infinitely better for fantasy football purposes.
And I like it a lot. I don't know. I am glad that they decided to keep it this way. I hope they continue to keep it this way.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Cohen's hurt. If he gets back, I almost took Cohen late in that draft because of the upside with PPR targets and if he's going to be returning punts and kicks still. But I doubt he's going to be.
This is kind of 100 IQ. This is like the more in-depth working the rules strategy. So if you play in a Yahoo league, if players are on the COVID-19 list, you're able to place them into your IR slot. Some leagues will allow you to place onto your regular draft and then IR. Some will let you do it right to the IR. So you don't want to necessarily blow a waiver, priority on them. But once the waivers run and they're just sitting out there, if you can just add them straight to your IR. I added Carson Wentz to mine, and I also added Tannehill, who was on the COVID list. And while I had Tannehill on there, I picked up Rashad Bateman, who had not been declared out yet. Waited. They declared Bateman on the IR. I moved Tannehill back into my active slot and moved Bateman into the IR slot. So, just playing with those IR slots, it's a long shot, but if any advantage you can find in fantasy football, especially when you're playing with good people, now I have my IR slots filled up with guys that could potentially come back and be useful, or I could maybe trade them on the hype as they're approaching comeback.
Well, I had George Kittle last year fall onto waivers, and nobody picked him up. And it was like, hey, he may be back week 16. Oh, well, who cares? I picked him up. He came back week 15, and he played football on my team. So, those IR spots, you never know who's going to pan out.
Use them, abuse them. The IR slot is there. And we have agreed in our leagues that is fair game because any player is capable of doing the same thing. It's not it's not necessarily in the spirit of what the IR is there for, but it's within the rules.
Yeah, no, it's fine. CEH can be available week 1 because injury hampered him all year.
All the things I've heard about CEH, it's not a high so he has a ankle sprain. It's not a high ankle sprain. It sounds like a mid kind of ankle/foot sprain. There are grades of it. I think that the comp was Michael Thomas last year had a grade 2, which lingered and hindered him throughout the year. I think CEH, they haven't officially announced it, but all of the context clues lead you to believe that it's a level 1, which is more like your typical if you're out playing sports and you've ever rolled your ankle. He was in the walkthrough. Haven't heard really action in practice, but I believe that CEH is going to be back and ready to go, but it's a minor concern. I did throw Daryl Henderson on a bench just on the off chance that Clyde is not back and ready to go or re-aggravates. And he had a fair bit of injury history at the end of last year. He had a lot of lower body things. So he's a smaller guy, and they want to use him like a workhorse. I always have concerns when they try to get those little guys taking that kind of punishment. So the problem is there's not a great clear-cut guy that you're really thinking, oh, if Daryl Henderson gets a job, he's going to be phenomenal. He could be relevant.
Are you a little bit more interested in some extra pieces brought to mind? Tutu Atwell. he's small, but as a PPR guy and returning kicks, if you get special teams points for punt return, yardage.
I don't know, man. Tutu also got injured in a preseason game pretty quickly. I think Tutu gets snapped in half. He weighs 10 pounds. He's a child out there. God bless you, Tutu. I got nothing against him. He's not like Cohen where I hold just a strong vendetta.
Yeah.
But
will Minshew be starting quarterback for Philly by week 8?
No. Gardner Minshew has proven himself to
maybe
be
week 2.
No.
Mario Rogers trash can. Yeah, garbage time. Garbage time points for Amari.
The reports haven't been the worst about Amari. He could emerge. He could take some time though.
Shake my head, free my homie too.
Tutu.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I do like the return points if you can get them. All right, let's go through a couple matchups.
And as far as a wide receiver, he is probably fourth at best on that depth chart. The usage in the preseason was promising. He got a lot of targets, and he got them. And
Deshaun
he's zippy,
Jackson? Any Deshaun
speedy.
Jackson hype?
None at all.
Okay, fair enough.
He is on the Rams, though. Do you guys know that? Did anybody know that Deshaun Jackson? I heard that a couple days ago.
I almost picked him up.
He's really on the Rams
in our best ball.
Hey, that would have been a bold move. That's a glory play for just 1 week, the first week.
The one time.
No.
All right, couple matchups. Thursday night we get Cowboys Buccaneers.
I like it. I like it a lot. That is a fun game to watch.
I feel like we almost have
How
to
do you
string
feel about
that.
starting Dak in that game?
I'm doing it.
Yep. I think so. If you could start Dak Prescott in that game, or you could start Zack Wilson against the Panthers, which move do you make your first?
I'm starting Dak 100%.
I think that I agree. I think you have to. The offense is high powered. Dak coming back. A little worry about it being kind of his first real action. Let's see if he takes a hit. I am going to start Dak, and I'm not going to be shocked when Zach wins.
I'm starting Dak 10 out of 10 times. Yes.
All right. I think you drafted him to start.
Yes, for sure. God forbid anything happens to Aaron Rodgers. What's the decision for Jordan Love this season? I don't know. I was in the NFL subreddit, and they're like, "Oh, Jordan Love looks so good," and the plays that I saw, not good. He screwed up I don't know if he screwed it up, but the time he got screwed up and they had to take a timeout, when they were kind of making a charge, and he blew another play. I don't know. I'm not impressed.
The situation for
I
Jordan
hope
Love,
they start Jordan Love.
It's interesting because I think the reason that people are not excited for him is because he's been around and the reports have not been great coming out about him. If he was taken in this draft, where he was taken in that last draft to the Packers and Rodgers had retired or something, the hype would be through the roof. So
maybe.
It's interesting. It's interesting how some of those quarterbacks being around, you try to trade in dynasty, like a Sam Darnold going to the Panthers. Nobody wants to give you a 4th round pick for him, but if he was going in the actual rookie draft, he'd go in the 1st or 2nd round. A young quarterback with.
But we've seen it before.
We've seen a little,
yeah.
Which is, I think, an endorsement to maybe avoid drafting those rookie quarterbacks.
He says Aaron Rodgers is a well-known system quarterback. I mean,
maybe.
We'll have to see him in a different system to know. Are you starting everybody from the Buccaneers?
Yeah.
Where's it stop? Antonio Brown?
Gronk.
You're not starting Gronk?
Not week 1. If Gronk comes out and gets 2 touchdowns, we'll give him a go. I'm not starting any of the tight ends for the Buccaneers. Antonio Brown, I likely will start as my wide receiver 3 on one team.
Okay. And obviously, you're starting Evans, Godwin, Tom Brady. You're probably starting.
Yep.
Buccaneers defense. You're probably starting.
You drafted all of those. Oh yeah, and you're excited about the Buccaneers defense,
For
even
sure.
though it's the Cowboys. I think they're going to get after it.
Yeah. Cowboys. You starting Gallup?
No.
Okay. And you're not starting Blake Jarwin?
I have a lot of wide receivers I took later than where Gallup was going that I am more excited about to try and play.
Gio Bernard says Bambo. I'm not trusting
Gio has,
Bernard.
I think it was an ankle sprain that I saw. So I am, largely because of that injury, not going to roll him out.
Yep. Seahawks, Colts. How far down are you starting Seahawks? You starting Lockett?
You're starting the running back. Penny, I'm not starting.
Carson.
You're starting
Lockett,
Carson.
DK.
Yeah.
Wilson.
If you drafted those guys. Yeah, a lot of this goes into where you drafted them. You drafted those guys high enough that you're starting them.
Everett. You starting Everett?
I think that Everett has sneaky upside this year. I don't think he's going to crack into the top, 5 tight ends, but he's going to be one of those next tier of guys.
We've seen a lot of tight end flyers come from the Seahawks with Disley and
they're
Greg
not
Olsen.
They're not league winning upside start every week kind of guys, but they'll get a touchdown. Everett will have touchdowns.
They
this
definitely
year.
flash.
He'll have reception.
I could see Everett having some good weeks. I just don't think you're going to know.
No, I like him, and before I traded for Kittle, he was a guy that I was happy to have as
Colts.
a
You feeling any confidence to starting Pittman?
It sounds like Carson Wentz is on track to be back, which is very impressive as far as the foot injury that he had. Whoever the surgeon was that did those injuries, if I get that injury, I'm calling that guy because he sounds like he did great on both of them.
Right.
And they came back at the heavy kind of low end of the quick back. So I think that Pittman is a guy that I would love to see a game before I started him, but if I don't have a better choice, he's a guy that should be out there, should
Pittman
get the ball
looked good.
thrown to
I wouldn't
him.
mind flexing Pittman probably.
He's probably the only one.
Antonio Brown or Pittman?
The rookie tight end I'll keep an eye on. Antonio Brown I'd play over Pittman, especially against Seattle. Their defense is not what it used to be, but it's still pretty decent.
Gallup or Pittman?
I would start Pittman over Gallup.
DH baller with the follow.
Hey, happy to have you, DH.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of people in the Discord. I hope some of you managed to find your way over to the live stream. We did have one, Hassan, that if he pops in, we'll talk about his team. He's been asking a lot of the start, sit, who should I trade? The man has like 18 pieces traded for another 14 pieces over here.
It's
so
just
there's
a straight team for
a lot to unpack. I said, hey, watch the show, man, and we'll talk about it because there's a lot to go through here.
Right. All right. Jaguars, Texans. What a mess.
Ooh.
James Robinson, rolling them out.
Yeah. James Robinson, I think you feel good about
T-Law?
rolling out. Trevor, you could just because the Texans are so bad.
DJ Shark.
DJ Shark coming off of an injury. He's always, I think, a threat to get the bomb touchdown. Marvin Jones is also coming off an injury. If Marvin doesn't play, I'm more excited about DJ Shark. I think they both kind of, could go either way.
Jones over Shark, says Bambo. I'm with you, Bambo. If I had them both on my team and I had to start one, I'd be starting Marvin Jones over Shark.
But they are both coming off of kind of little injuries.
Yeah, and I'd roll James Robinson out there for sure.
Guy I'd play over both of them is Brandon Cooks.
I would start Brandon Cooks.
Only Texan that I'm.
Brandon Cooks was kind of falling in our best ball. I was going to grab him right when you were taking him.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks. He just
Chenault. You starting Chenault? I'm scared.
I think that Laviska Shenault will be in maybe that Jarvis Landry kind of tier of a guy who gets the ball thrown to him, but isn't getting the long bombs. He's a big-bodied guy. He is a rumbler. He could get some touchdowns, but I don't know that that's how they're going to be scoring their touchdowns.
Marvin Jones just knows how to get open, and
salty vet.
I just trust that over what I've seen from the other guys.
All right, so Laviska.
Do you see what you get when you mess with the Warrior?
I didn't get any Laviska shares, I don't believe. I would have loved to grab him on one team. Maybe I'll trade
Bambo,
for him.
who's the Jags tight end? I don't even know. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
No, I think they're going to – I think they wanted to use ETN and Laviska kind of for those more intermediate kind of passes, but – it's not.
Do you believe that David Johnson is the third running back on the Texans squad right now?
No, I think he's the first running back.
I do too.
But I still don't want him.
Also, facts. Eagles, Falcons, you starting everybody? Kyle Pitts rolling them out there week
All
one?
the Eagles. Give me all the Eagles. I have Zach Ertz as a backup tight end in a couple leagues. If he comes out and gets 8 targets, I'm pretty excited to have.
So here's
Zach
a name
Ertz
to watch. If Kenneth Gainwell has a good week one for the Eagles,
he was a guy I just missed
with
in
like
best ball.
5 or 6 targets or
Yeah.
something stupid like that. I'm immediately trying to get Kenneth Gainwell.
Yep.
I like the film.
Austin Scott's
I know
still
you
there
didn't
to
love
hurt
the
him.
film, but if they're really bought into him, like some of the hype has been building, and they give him like 3 or 4 rush attempts, but like 4 or 5 pass attempts, I'm buying.
No, I didn't love the film. I didn't love the size, but his preseason.
So I don't trust Miles
production has been
Sanders either. So I'm interested in that. Falcons, I'm starting Kyle Pitts. Are you starting Russell Gage?
I am rostering Russell Gage in a couple spots. I like him in best ball because I think he's going to have some blow up games, but I'm not starting him. There are other guys I'm definitely starting over Russell Gage.
Yeah. Yes, it's not Tebow for the Jags, that's for sure. Saying now, when the Eagles play the Giants, I'm picking up Boston Scott and roping after that game.
Boston Scott, what could have been? What could have been?
Eagles, you starting Ertz or Goddard?
No. I'm out on Goddard. So that is one that I think Hassan was asking about in his league. He showed me his roster, and the weak spot I thought was Goddard. If Ertz is still there, I really, really don't like Goddard's potential. He's going to have some touchdown games. He's going to have some big receptions, but he's not a guy you're going to want to try.
So
and
it said
trust.
the Eagles and Ertz are on good terms now, and apologies were said. Do you think it's like, hey, you're going to trade me, Eagles? And they're like, no, we're not, and he apologized, and then they're okay?
That's like being a professional. So there's probably some bad blood. They probably don't love each other. They're not excited about the situation, but they're at least professional enough to, on the surface, let it be that, and I think that he'll play well and not sit out or anything like that. It looks like the tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the guys they have listed, they have Jacob Hollister, then O'Shag Hennessy, and Luke Farrell.
O'Shag Hennessy. That's what we call him on the show. All right, we got to run through some of these matchups still. Chargers, Washington. Anybody of note that you're going to be looking at?
Washington, I do not yet have any shares of.
Probably starting Logan Thomas if you have him. You're probably starting Curtis Samuel.
No, he's coming off an injury.
Starting Mike Williams.
Josh Palmer for the Chargers. No, I'm not starting right away. I like that I grabbed him in best ball. I think he's got some upside if Mike Williams goes down, which he always does.
Yep.
Antonio Gibson is a guy that I wanted a share of and I haven't gotten yet. So maybe
I just don't like him at his price. Like
Yeah.
I see it, I understand it, and I like him okay there, but there's just other names that I trust more.
The
at that
reason
price.
that I'm worried is I just don't know that Washington's going to be in a lot of high-scoring games. I think their defense is very talented, and they just, they might
I agree.
just kind of be in those low-scoring grinders.
I'm starting Eckler. I'm starting Herbert. I'm starting Keenan Allen. A lot of Herbert lovers in our Discord.
That is another one. So two guys that I saw on a lot of rosters. Herbert, which we like Herbert. He looked great last year. Great arm talent. They added to the offensive line, so that should help him out. Again, Keenan Allen's a good target. Mike Williams, when he's there, is good. Palmer's a talented rookie. Austin Eckler is going to throw him the ball. But he is a rookie, and we've seen in the past, Baker's a good example of a rookie that comes out, sets records, and then has a little bit of a step back that next year because people have kind of gotten the tape on him. Things don't always click quite the same. I'm a little concerned about Herbert, especially where he's going, but again, you could do worse.
When you can throw the ball, you can throw the ball. I trust Herbert to throw the ball.
Okay.
I mean, that's...
Well, you're also not psyched to have him as your starting quarterback necessarily.
I'd be okay with him.
His rushing upside's a little
He's going
capped.
as like the 6th or 7th quarterback, though. I wouldn't take him that high.
So is Eckler ever
like
going to
him around
step
10.
off the field? Yeah, he is. And I worried that he's not going to get the goal line carries, even though the other running backs on that team aren't very good. Eckler is a smaller guy. He would be one of the smallest running backs to be like a workhorse back. I want to say he's under 210.
I've seen him going a lot at the turn.
And he did have an injury last year.
I like him at that spot.
I like Eckler as well. I didn't get him because he was going so high. I worry about his goal line usage.
Yeah. And Steelers, Bills, you starting... How many Bills are you starting? Moss, Singletary, no. Starting Josh Allen, Diggs. You starting Emmanuel Sanders?
In our best ball, Nick sniped me 15 times, so I got him back with the Gabe Davis. The Gabe Davis grab, more than you realize.
He was on my list.
All right, so I got one. He got him back at the turn, and I'm excited for Gabe Davis actually in best ball. I don't necessarily love him in redraft, but I think he's going to have multi-touchdown games. There were so many games where he had the touchdown and it got called back for a penalty, or he had the touchdown and his toe, like it was just. How many? I think you know the number. Like,
yeah, he had like 6 touchdowns called.
A lot of red zone targets. So I'm excited.
Beasley,
for
if Goodell doesn't send a hitman on him, I don't. Beasley, I think, will be okay if you need to flex him, but I'm not excited to start him week 1. I hope to have better options week 1. Beasley's for like once we're halfway through the season and a bunch of guys have been out on injury and buys and whatnot. That's when you need Beasley.
Beasley will die of polio halfway. Like,
or that'll
not
happen.
even COVID. It was just something else he didn't get.
Steelers starting Najee, starting Big Ben.
Yeah, I think you can in this matchup. I think
Ethan in our league made a good point. It's like we're drafting 3 top 20 wide receivers, and Big Ben's getting drafted way late in drafts.
Ben looked good in the preseason. All of the wide receivers looked pretty decent in the preseason. Najee Harris catches balls. Yeah. That offense should have a little.
I'd start all
little
3.
more balance.
I'd start all 3 wide receivers probably, at least in the flex spot.
And I don't know all the matchups off the top of my head, but I believe like the next couple matchups after this game are also pretty juicy for Big Ben. So if you took him late,
Ben's probably be done by week 5. If their line is just a little bit better,
and that might be valid. Ben could be a top 12 guy those first couple weeks, and then you trade him or move him or you pick up another wide receiver. If you had Trey Lance and Big Ben, like that's a nice combo to have.
49ers, Lions.
49ers. I have a lot of shares of Ayuk. That's another guy that I'm just loaded up on. He has a little bit of a hammy. They are sitting him out to be safe. I hope he stays healthy, but the 49ers get hurt.
Are you starting Mostert?
I think, yeah. First game of the year. He's healthy right now as far as we've seen. He had a touchdown in the last preseason game. He looks fast.
I'm starting Kittle, Ayuk, and that's it.
I think you definitely, if you have Mostert, you drafted him, this would be a game to play him in. He's playing the Lions.
I'm never going to have Mostert.
I don't have Mostert, but if I did have Mostert, I would play Mostert over guys that went higher than him in the NFL draft.
You have to if you draft him.
Because he's playing the Lions. The Lions are very, very bad.
If Mostert, I tell you this now, if Mostert has a really good week 1 and week 2, just trade him.
If you
just trade him.
You don't take nothing, but
don't take nothing.
Take something.
For sure. Somebody will be bought in. Somebody in your league will buy in fully. The Lions, you start any receivers from the Lions except for Hawk? Swift, Hawk, and that's it?
Some people Tyrell, some people Amon-Ra, Quintez Cephas. Like, it could be anybody. No against the 49ers defense. Now I'm starting nobody.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll roster Amon-Ra if I had to take my shot on one of the guys I think will have some relevance.
Okay. Vikings, Bengals. You starting Jamar Chase?
Yeah, I think third wide receiver. Again, if you got 3 wide receivers, you can start him as your third, see how it pans out. But it hasn't looked great yet. It might
Jamar
take him
Chase
some time.
or Jarvis Landry?
Chase for the upside.
Okay. Vikings, you're starting Jefferson, starting Thielen. I've seen Thielen falling a little bit. Are we still bought in, even though he's older?
Yeah, the Vikings are a little bit of an enigma. They've got, Justin Jefferson, you think is going to overtake
I think
Thielen
Cousins
this year.
deserves a little bit more credit than we
Thielen
give
could
him.
have the touchdowns come down this year. Their defense could be better, so they need to throw it less.
Against the Bengals, though.
Yeah, the Bengals defense is bad. If you're going to play them, it's a good matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I'm playing all of them.
If you took Thielen, you play
playing
him.
Cook. I'm probably playing Cousins as well if I have him. Joe Burrow, rolling him out. Mixon, you have to start him where you drafted him. You starting Boyd?
I didn't take Boyd anywhere. I'm not excited about Boyd's upside, but I think if you got him, like you could take a chance on him getting some catches.
I got him in
He's a
best
decent
ball.
wide receiver.
And I was happy to give him best ball and not the other places.
Yeah, I'm more excited for his start of the season than the end of his season.
Yeah. Not pumped about Boyd. Boyd or Robbie Anderson?
I'll play Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson had a nice touchdown in his last preseason game.
Right.
They just signed him to a contract.
Jets, Panthers, that's our next stop here.
Jets, I like Zack Wilson. I like Corey Davis. Elijah Moore has been out a little bit. I probably am not rolling him out right away, but I'm happy to have him on my bench. If he has like a first week that he doesn't play or doesn't do anything great, I wouldn't drop Elijah Moore.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Panthers, Christian to the moon. Stay healthy, Christian. My dynasty running back.
Starting DJ, starting Darnold? No.
Nah, not
Superflex?
but Darnold's like a nice quarterback too on a super flex.
I'm watching though.
He looked good in this preseason.
I'm interested in this game. Of all the crap games, this is one of the better ones, I think. Okay. Cardinals, Titans. You starting AJ Green?
No. I'm drinking when I see him.
Come on.
I'll take a drink for every reception that AJ Green has in that game. I'll pour myself something strong and just.
That's a bet.
And not get drunk at all.
Stone sober. Starting Hopkins. Starting running backs. You starting Connors?
In our dynasty, because it is deep, we start a lot of guys. I might go ahead and roll him out. I think he could just punch in a touchdown. He's one of those guys.
Bambo. Who's RB1 on the Jets? Is it Carter or Coleman? I think it's Coleman.
Right now, Coleman, and then is it Ty Johnson is the guy who they have listed as number 2, and Michael Carter, the reports are that he hasn't surpassed both of those guys yet. It could be a little bit of a committee. If you took Michael Carter, you might have to wait a while on him to kind of establish
here's the thing.
himself.
Coleman's been written off, and to be fair, I own Coleman in Dynasty, but I think he's like Gore. Like, he's good enough to get it done for a short stint if you need him. I could see him being tough to get out of that role for several weeks.
If Coleman scores a touchdown in this game, he will be off next team by the end of the day.
That is a 100%.
That
is a guarantee.
But yeah, they have him kind of as the lead guy on a lot of people's analysis.
He can catch too, and he's been relied on to do that. So I'm not. People forget about how good Coleman was with the Falcons. I mean, he was utilized a lot.
I'm thinking of the 49ers. He had a couple games of relevance. Or
For sure.
I think he's right before
his
you got him.
His whole stint with the
trade.
49ers was it didn't go great.
Coleman's not the worst.
No.
Like the New York Giants would be so lucky to get Coleman in a trade right now.
Cardinals, Titans. From the Titans side, you starting Julio week 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Tannehill, I'm starting Henry. And AJ Brown, that's probably it.
Tannehill was a guy that I had on my radar as a guy I liked this year. I think that having AJ Brown and Julio Jones, even though Julio's a little bit older, we both kind of agree he's probably got at least one more good year in the tank. Not what he's been.
I traded
in the past,
a first for him, so I hope he's.
I
solid.
wouldn't have done. That's ill advised. But yeah, I think that the Titans. I think that, and the people don't realize how good Tannehill has been, his statistics and just his consistency. He has the potential to run in a touchdown now and then.
And the thing is, too, like, why would you fade a guy that has arguably the best running back in the league, pure runner for sure, arguably one of the top five.
My perception of Tannehill in that offense changed so much when Julio Jones got signed. It went from being like, they're going to struggle, they're not going to be as good, to like, they're going to be tough.
Yeah.
I saw during the Bears preseason game they had Henry and AJ and Julio standing right next to each other. This good shot of just the three of them hanging out watching the game, and it was like, ooh, like I think they're going to be good. Like, it's scary on paper for sure.
For sure. Browns Chiefs. You starting?
Say, Gurley, Freeman, and Coleman all went downhill after leaving Atlanta. Sometimes that second Atlanta running.
Atlanta has history of having really good running backs and also not very good when they.
Well, I think that Atlanta has a good history of having a good passing offense that sets those guys up to have success in the red zone.
Because they had Steven Jackson, then Freeman right after that. I mean,
that's part of my. I didn't get Mike Davis anywhere, but I would have taken a shot on him if he, was available because
he got too much hype.
He did, and the reason is I don't think that Mike Davis is great, but he can be that guy that just it's a high scoring offense most of the time. They still have weapons. They're going to move the ball, and if he can just even do what Gurley did the first half of last year, where he just punches in a touchdown every game.
All Mike Davis has to do is stay healthy. That's going to be his only thing.
And
he's going to do.
Built solid. He's not a guy that you're worried about. Like as far as guys that are built to take punishment and be more of a workhorse guy.
I fully expect him to be hurt within the first 3 weeks.
Mike Davis, his quads, they're so large.
Ferks are going to be so open.
Quads are like fives.
Yeah, Ferks is going to be so open with no targets coming to him.
Barely even know her.
Yep. Chiefs starting Hill. We're still not starting a wide receiver 2 from the Chiefs, right? No interest. Mecole.
Some people are hyped on Mecole. I've seen analysis going both ways. Some people hyping him up.
Enough proof by now.
Some bashed him. I'm out on Mecole. I agree. I think we've seen a large enough sample size.
I'm excited to see CEH. I want to see what he can do in year 2. Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes.
Yeah, I was excited about CEH. That foot injury has scared me off of him a little bit. Pat Mahomes, my dynasty quarterback. Psyched to see him score 1 billion points and lead me to a championship.
They've kind of built up that offensive line a lot in the offseason. So if he's going to perform, now's the time.
Marcy was waiting for the line. The regulars, they know what's coming. We don't want to let you down.
Line, please.
Let's just interrupt. Let's see. Did we cover? We did cover the Atlanta game already.
We did not. We're getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
okay.
That's later.
Okay.
Or did we?
I thought we did.
Yep, Atlanta.
All right, because
Falcons Eagles.
I needed to tell you about the kicker that I drafted in one league. I reached and I got Young Ho in one league, so Young Ho will never let you down. Happy to have him. Good friend of the show. Hope he found his cleats.
Good friend of the show.
Young Ho, the best.
Browns, you starting Jarvis, OBJ.
Is any podcast in the world ever talked about Young Ho Koo more than us?
No.
So, number one fans.
It's hard to argue with that.
Where were we?
We were talking about the Browns.
The Browns. Flush it down with Brown.
Baker, Jarvis.
I think Baker is getting a little slept on, a little disrespected. Baker had some real nice preseason showings. He could be a guy that when your quarterback that you took, if he gets hurt or doesn't pan out,
I'd stream
he's just
going to
be sitting there waiting for you. Great streamer who could be borderline, a plug and play every week. Kansas City Chiefs defense is decent. I think that team's going to run the ball out. That's one of my concerns for Bakers. I think they're going to be run heavy. They have a great top-ranked offensive line for rushing.
Yep.
2 very strong running backs, probably the best 1-2 running back combo in the NFL.
Which I'm starting both of.
There you go. And I think you can get away with that. There are going to be a couple games where it bites you, where Kareem doesn't get a touchdown, but man, I think that
they're both very startable.
They're going to move the ball. Yep. They're going to run. They're going to get touchdowns.
And I have OBJ shares. I don't need to start him, but I would start him if I had him on my roster that was a little more depleted.
Yeah. Playing against Kansas City, maybe you're a little bit higher on Baker and some of the wide receivers because they could have to score more points.
Correct.
But they're still going to run.
Yeah, I agree. Draft number 2 done. Few. Karna, welcome in. Hey. Draft number 2 of how many? How many more you got? All right, Dolphins, Patriots.
If you got questions, post them. We'll try and get to them.
Are you any interest in starting Tua week 1?
So the Dolphins, I want to see how things shake out. Tua, I did grab in best ball. I think he's got a lot of great weapons. The hype for him was good before he got the leg injury.
Waddle
and
or
then he came out. So I'm going to take Waddle for the first week, but I also think Will Fuller coming back. Will Fuller is a guy that I just missed in best ball that I would like to have because I think he's got he's had a history of missing games, but he's also had a history of the games he comes back scoring monster games and just having huge weeks.
For sure.
So
I would take, if I had to pick one player, I would take Waddle. I think
I have
get him late enough.
Will Fuller in one league that I got him late, and I'm excited to see if he can kind of recreate the success. People forget how good of a year he was having before the PED suspension. Suspended the first game. He's had a foot injury already. Hopefully the injury's out of the way now.
If we're talking like team identities here, Kenny Stills is like the perfect comp to Will Fuller, I feel like, is because Kenny Stills, all he did was like 2 for 80 and a touchdown, and that was all he did. He just caught long passes for touchdowns, which Will Fuller, that's his bread and butter. So
Will Fuller
I
is a
could
rich
see him
man.
being successful just
Can't be
because
still.
of team history of that position being successful. So
Yeah, I think that Tua, the knock on him was that he doesn't throw the long ball, but he was actually more accurate than you realize if you actually looked up the stats. I think Tua's gonna be pretty decent. I think that the Dolphins offense has a lot of weapons. It's a young team.
we get to see the last 2 quarterbacks for Alabama going against each other.
Problem with
week
the
1.
Dolphins in that game is that the Patriots defense is pretty formidable.
Yeah, with their starters coming back from the COVID list. Patriots, I'm probably not starting McCorkle week 1. I'm probably not starting Jacoby or Nelson Aguilar if I don't have to week 1.
Agreed.
I would start Damian Harris.
Harris is the one. Harris is the one you want to start.
So you get one person.
And Ramondre with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
if
maybe the
Ramondre
kicker.
scores touchdowns in this game, plug and
that's
play
a win.
every week. Put him in your RB1 slot. Set it and forget it.
Broncos, Giants. You starting Javonte Williams right out the gate?
No, I'm trying not to. I think that you're going to see similar to J.K. Dobbins last year, where you have the veteran running back who's going to get the majority of the work. And I still think Melvin Gordon is pretty good. I think he's a good running back. I think he's got juice left. And I think it's going to be like Dobbins, where it just takes time. You're a little frustrated. If you can trade for Javonte Williams in midseason when he hasn't accomplished a lot yet, that's exactly the kind of guy you want to look for in the midseason. When he hasn't done anything, people are starting to get a little shaky. They're sick of rostering him.
Yeah.
That's when you pull the trigger.
Are you going to just roll out Cortland Sutton week 1 and hope for the best?
Yeah, I think not as my, wide receiver 1 or 2, but if you can put him in the flex or something like that,
Right.
I think you could do worse.
Yeah, I think he's safe. Probably starting.
He played a
Judy,
preseason
too.
game, so his health was good enough that they trusted him to play in that preseason game.
Right. Giants, Saquon, if he's healthy for week 1.
Saquon, if you drafted Saquon, you're starting Saquon.
If they say he's going to be on a pitch count,
100%, you're starting. If Saquon is even going to dress, you just put him in your lineup. If you,
or let's say
took
you have
Saquon.
Saquon, Austin Eckler, and Mike Davis, and they say Saquon's going to be on a pitch count. You starting Mike Davis or Saquon?
I'd probably still put Saquon in the flex.
Okay, I would agree. Giants receivers, you starting Kadarius? Is he even on the team?
Kadarius he did not play a single preseason game. He was the if you don't know who Kadarius is, he was the first round draft pick wide receiver for the New York Giants, and it sounds like he's gonna play in this game. So I am very excited to see him. If he comes out and looks good, I'll be very happy. But there are a lot of wide receivers on the team. Sterling Shepard looked good in preseason. People are leaving him for dead.
Slayton was better than you thought last year.
Slayton, I'm not 100% sure Slayton's going to be ready for this game, but yeah, Kenny Galladay, the word on the street is that he is trending towards being available for that game. Yep. I think Kenny more than anybody.
Kenny Galladay out?
He was going late enough in a lot of drafts that you don't necessarily have to. You probably have 2 other good wide receivers ahead of him that you can roll out depending on how many guys you start.
Kenny Galladay or Amari Cooper?
Oh, Amari Cooper by a long, large margin.
I think Amari Cooper is a wide receiver 2, middle of the road this year. I think Kenny Galladay, the last we saw him, he was a wide receiver 1.
I think Cooper has wide receiver 1 upside, and I think Kenny coming off an injury, going to a new team with an awful quarterback in Daniel Jones, he's not going to be a guy I want to trust week 1. He could get a touchdown, though, for sure.
Yeah. I have Galladay. I think I have 1 share of Galladay. I think he can come back. And Danny Dimes, people are sleeping on Danny Dimes. I I wouldn't mind rolling him out here as a streaming quarterback. Probably not against the Broncos week 1, but I'd be interested.
We're gonna jump to the chat. So Karna said that yesterday was an auction IDP draft, almost 3 hours. That is what we were staring down the barrel of on the 5th here.
Yep.
And then he says Waddle.
Marcy says Waddle.
Oh, sorry, the same color there.
Yeah, no, we have
Team Pink.
How many IDP players do you have? We have 5, I think, in ours.
It's a pretty good amount of IDP.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you? No, I won't make the joke.
Packers Saints.
All right.
Starting.
We got the Packers fans. Now's your moment. Start getting excited.
MVS or Lazard. A long shot.
We were talking in the Discord. Lazard might be getting underhyped. Not enough love for the Lazard. He had some decent moments last year. Had a little bit of a core injury. Came back. He could surprise people as a good late round flyer. Was a guy that I didn't have on my radar in best ball, but he's a nice little late best ball pick.
Marcy makes a note here that they are playing in Jacksonville since the Saints cannot play at home. So it's a neutral field. Yeah, I'm probably starting the usual suspects. I'm starting Aaron Jones,
Gotta move the game to Florida.
Florida man finds World War II grenade, places it in his truck, and drives to Taco Bell.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This is the best job in the world.
And you guys choose to watch this. Unbelievable.
You're not getting that drop on the footballers. Come on.
There's a reason. There's a reason. Yeah. Are you starting Tanyan?
Yeah.
I think we have to start
Tanyan,
right?
of all the Packers, he was a guy that I got one or two shares of. I actually, if I missed out on those top guys, I started to cool off on Hawkinson a little bit. Tanyan, the reports coming out of camp is that him and Aaron are unstoppable, so we'll see if that holds true. He was extremely efficient on kind of the limited targets he got. If anything, would probably just get Aaron Rodgers to say, hey, maybe Aaron Rodgers, as much as I don't care for him, he's not a dummy. And he's going to realize, hey, that worked a lot of the time.
You drafting Randall Cobb anywhere?
I think they're going to go to it. I think Tanyan's targets are going to go up, and I think his efficiency is still going to stay pretty strong. In Dynasty, I know my brother just traded Tanyan. He might have undersold a little, but I think that because Aaron Rodgers is likely going to be out of town, you're probably on a 1 year of Tanyan value right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I can't remember.
Okay.
Saints, Marquez Callaway. Is he the guy, or we didn't see Traquan Smith in the preseason?
No, Traquan is still injured. If he plays, I don't want to roll him out. I think Callaway is the dart throw, but I'm actually probably starting a lot of other guys over Callaway. I understand that the upside is high, but
I drafted Winston.
I
did it.
You didn't draft him as your number one quarterback,
No.
but Jameis does. He has a very nice ceiling. If he can just hit some bomb throws. Again, we talked about Jameis. He was getting slept on. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, number one pick in the NFL draft, passed for over 5,000 yards in a single season, and went to the Saints, which is a very good offense historically with a very good coach. The quote I heard from Sean Payton was somebody was saying, like, hey, are you worried about, Jameis throwing, 30 picks? And he said, our system won't allow Jameis Winston to throw that many picks. The picks are going to come down simply because the system that he's in is different than Bruce Arians and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The system is don't throw
who
picks.
Went out and found the most accurate, good vision, take care of the ball quarterback. So I think you throw a lot of quarterbacks into that situation, they would throw more picks.
Maybe he was saying our system won't allow it. Like once he throws 5, we bench him.
So the pedigree for Winston is there. He got LASIK surgery, so he can see now. That's awesome.
That usually helps.
The problem for Jameis Winston, I would be much higher on if Michael Thomas didn't get injured. Now they have Callaway, who's the guy, and the Lil Jordan Humphreys, Lil Jordan Humphreys.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's on his driver's license.
It's got
and then a busted up. Just the wide receivers that are there are not high level. You're excited for wide receivers
for sure. Yeah, and Kamara, I didn't have the heart to take Kamara over Derrick Henry.
I took Kamara in one, and I think he's just going to get all the work in the world, more work than he can handle. The last
time that happened, he averaged 40 points a game.
Yeah, and he has proven himself to be very talented and in a good system that benefits him and plays to his strengths. So I like Kamara.
I still had to take Derrick. I don't know why, but
I didn't get any Derrick. He's on Ethan's team. Everybody on Ethan's team is going down.
I know.
He's at the age that people get injured. He's on Ethan's team. Everything is lining up for Derrick Henry injury. And
Jawan Johnson.
I'm not superstitious.
So
but I'm a little
stitious. I want to see the Saints prove it. I would love to see the Saints beat the Packers week 1, neutral field.
Oh, yeah, we're all rooting for that.
That'd be hilarious. Bears-Rams. We got 2 more. Bears-Rams.
All right, it's happening.
Andy D. Is it happening?
Well, I'm looking.
When is it happening?
Oh, where are we?
We're waiting for it to happen.
The Bears. Go Bears!
Why are the Bears drops so far away?
I got a lot of drops. I'm a one man trying to produce the content, keep up with the chat, dude. Like, I'm working.
Oh man, Bears starting Allen Robinson. Are you starting long shot Komet or Jimmy Graham here?
No, Allen Robinson, and I'm probably trying not to start Darnell Mooney. The Rams defense is good. You got Andy Dalton, who did not, to me, look good in the preseason.
Numbers say he didn't. Not
Offensive line, they've been suspect. Starting David Montgomery.
Yeah.
That's
a bet.
Robinson and Montgomery.
And they're playing the Rams, so I'm not even expecting a ton out of them.
Yeah, I think it could be a rough start.
Certain Kupp, Woods, Stafford, Henderson, and Higbee.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, I think Sony, if you got him, I'd like to see how it shakes out before I try and roll him out.
I agree. Otherwise, I'm pretty much starting everybody else.
Fair.
Higbee.
If Daryl Henderson gets injured in this game with the Bears just crushing defense.
Higbee or Goddard?
Higbee by a lot for me.
Okay.
Let's say that
Higbee
Daryl Henderson goes down. Then where is Sony Michel rate for running backs? Where's he?
If they're going to use them, then...
Well, if Daryl Henderson is injured is the question.
I just don't know.
So it's going to be him because he's basically the only guy with any talent on that that roster.
Don't forget about Jake Funk.
Jake Funk.
You're just completely blowing Funk up.
Gotta have that Funk.
I think Henderson's just a guy.
If Funk becomes a thing, that will be a drop.
I think Sony Michel's just a guy. Like Jake Funk is just a guy. I mean,
I think Sony Michel is better than Jake Funk as a running back. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to go out on a limb.
I don't think that's correct.
So let's say even you're not into it. Where will if he was getting drafted, let's say without Daryl Henderson, is he going?
Sony Michel, I think if he had the job to himself,
a little behind Mike
middle
Davis.
to back end RB2, I would take him after Davis.
Like right about
right about there.
All right.
If Henderson's not in the conversation.
Gotcha.
All right. Ravens, Raiders for our final matchup. Man. Starting Hollywood?
No.
Mark Andrews?
I don't think Hollywood's ready to go yet. I think he's still injured.
Is he?
Yeah.
And Bateman's hurt, so who's catching balls? Sammy,
the Lizard King Watkins.
So we might as well address
This is the game. He's playing the Raiders. Raiders suck.
Just talking about the stars aligning.
Oh, man.
This is it.
This is why you have Sammy on your team. Sammy goes off. You trade him to the League Rube at the League Taco, and you just...
Somebody has got a glory play.
And you get like
Sammy
a Mike
Watkins.
Davis. You get just somebody... Yeah.
If Sammy Watkins goes for 30 points week 1, it's all I'm going to talk about the whole Monday show. That's all I'm going to do. Will Mike singing the drop be the drop?
You could do worse, right? I flex the golden pipe sometimes on the show.
Please don't.
That's why you subscribe, right?
No, it's not. Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, you're starting Gus Edwards. I saw you took Gus Edwards.
I reached for Gus Edwards. I am excited about Gus Edwards' prospects. I think that his touchdown upside, if I had to make a prop bet right now, I would say that Gus Edwards has double-digit rushing touchdowns this year in the NFL. He's a pretty sturdy guy. His average rush per carry is, if you checked it out, I don't know it off the top of my head.
Somebody clip this.
I believe above 5.
Save it for about week.
You don't think Gus Edwards is breaking 10 touchdowns?
No.
For the Ravens,
I don't think
offense.
Gus. Again, these are backup people. They're not built to withstand 17 game seasons.
Gus Edwards has played. He's held up. He's like the bruising guy. Like if anybody could hold up to a workload, Gus Edwards is built to take this.
Again, if there's any more, the most injureable person is the backup running back. Like if I know anything, they will get hurt.
And signed him to money. Like Gus is going to be good. I think he is. You know that when we did the drops, we did like team drops of just sound bites that we did for each team. This was my Ravens sound drop.
I was running.
Because they run the ball. They had the most rush attempts in the NFL last year.
You already have the running back.
Even if Lamar rushes Jackson for 2,000 yards, Gus Edwards can rush for 1,000 yards. Like, Gus,
I think you're a little overhyping
Gus is punching
the Ravens
touchdowns
just a little bit.
And the thing about Gus Edwards is the other guys on the backing him up are not guys that are going to take a lot away from him. They're going to give him a rest now and then, but he's going to be the guy punching in touchdowns. He's going to be getting the bulk of the work.
All right.
And I like Gus's potential touchdown upside.
I just don't. He's got 10 career touchdowns.
Yep, that's because he wasn't going to get. I wasn't excited at all when Dobbins was there.
That's career. He had 137 rush attempts for 718 yards. Basically, every season's the same. 130 to 145 rush attempts and 700 yards. Why is this guy going to be a different guy?
Because there's nobody in front of him. Every year before, they had a guy that was in front of him that was the main running back, and he was the secondary running back.
I don't know. Games played 16, didn't start. I'm just not fully buying in, even if you...
He played the last 2 seasons, full seasons.
I don't know. He's already 26
What are
years
his
old.
measurements? You have those?
And he's 26.
He's 6'1", 238 pounds.
Yes.
That's a big boy for a running back.
I'm out on the bus, especially if you're going to take him in the. I think you took him in the third round.
Goal line running back on a decent offense. That's going to be punching in touchdowns.
I like other players in that price range. Plain and simple. Speaking of Josh Jacobs, Raiders.
Oh no!
You starting Bryan Edwards?
Am I starting Bryan Edwards? I like Bryan Edwards. I want to have him on a roster. I'm not starting him, especially against the Ravens defense.
Starting Waller, probably not starting Carr. Not
Henry
against the
Ruggs.
Ravens.
What are your thoughts on Henry? I know you traded him away in Dynasty. Do you have any?
He's got to prove it before I'm going to do anything with Henry Ruggs.
Do you think, what would be if you had to put it on Bryan Edwards or Henry Ruggs, who do you like?
With Aguilar gone, I would probably put it on Ruggs.
All right.
If I had to make a call. But I don't feel good about it.
Anything could happen.
Need help calling the right play on game day? Call me at the Gruden Hotline. Gruden Hotline.
We got to call the hotline, see who he's going to be throwing the ball to.
He's going to throw to Josh Jacobs. That's why I drafted him.
Josh
in 2 leagues now.
They don't want to throw it to Josh Jacobs. You got to admit that they don't want to throw the ball to
Josh Jacobs in two different places now, just backing up my bets.
Is Kyle Pitts the greatest tight end of all time? Yes. Next question. I got Kyle on one team. I wanted one share of Kyle Pitts. He had 1 reception in the preseason. Took it for like 32 yards, I think.
I think I do too.
So it was a nice little play.
Did I take him in the listener league? I can't remember.
Pitts looks a little thin for a tight end and pretty big for a wide receiver. So we'll see where he lands in the
definitely
usage.
quick. Definitely quick. All right, that's all I got. What was our bet? Didn't we have another bet? Oh, we had a Daniel Jones bet.
Yes, we did make a Daniel Jones bet. He would. I bet that Daniel Jones will finish outside the top 18 quarterbacks in the NFL this year. What are the stats? I think that Fantasy Pros had him listed at like 22, 24, somewhere in that range, and there was like 4 rookie quarterbacks I think could finish above him. Brandon agreed with you that was a good bet for you, though, because the margin of difference between each quarterback in that range was so small.
Well, the difference between quarterback 15 and quarterback 23 is where he was like 25 points.
So like 4 or 5 fumbles by Daniel Jones to push him down.
And he missed 3 games. So if he plays 16, 17 games, which we did have a 14-game qualifier on, I think he's going to be top 18, maybe top 15.
I should have held you up to top 14, but I think there's a lot of rookie quarterbacks that have such a rushing upside that they could, even in their rookie year, finish above him.
Even if they miss 4 games, though. I mean, that's
the rushing is such a big piece of the quarterback fantasy scoring. Like rushing touchdowns and just rushing yardage is a cheat code. Yeah. It's a skewed metric.
Carno, y'all going to stream your drafts? We did stream 1 draft.
That's a question. So the next draft that we have is our most grueling draft. Hopefully I can make it because, again, if my wife goes into labor, I'm not going to be able to be there.
She might be in labor now. Have you checked your phone?
I've been looking at it. But, yeah, so it's on the 5th. The kids due on the 7th. I hope to be able to get in there and get it all done. But it's an auction draft. They're long. It is interesting because it is hard to find auction drafts. If you are a full addict like us or I'm looking for these things, it is tough to find good ones online because they are long and kind of arduous and drawn out. We'll be here if you'd like us to stream it. We can put it up. Even for our league, we might just throw it up. I usually
host a draft party. There's a lot of people out of town, so it's looking like there may only be an extra 1 or 2 people here.
So you can meet the cursed member of our Dynasty League, Ethan.
But do I order more microphones for
We'll have to figure it out.
That's the question.
Ethan? Nah.
Not for Ethan. Oh,
if
man.
it was Chris, maybe.
He can just draft in the background at these tables.
No, Ethan
face
has
the wall.
Ethan would add a nice, like, he's a metric guy. He's got the numbers and stuff. And I'm more a narrative guy. Nick's just goes to Reddit and just takes what they say. So it'd be cool to have a guy with some numbers. He sent us a chart yesterday. We both like, I don't know what this means.
Okay, did you figure that out?
What? So I didn't even look at it.
It was the odds you would get a stack from the same team, obviously, and your odds at each draft position.
Okay, so if you draft from the 4, you have a high chance of getting like 2 or 3 players from this team because of how they're falling.
Correct.
That's pretty neat.
So like his example was if you have the first overall pick, your odds of stacking 2 Panthers together are high because you're taking Christian McCaffrey and maybe DJ Moore.
I don't know necessarily what to do with that. I have seen some interesting metrics about like which draft position. I think
what to do with it was in best ball drafts. The statistics say you should have at least 1 stack on your roster.
Best ball is yes, more lends itself to wanting the stack.
Yeah.
When we do our Yahoo leagues, there's interesting when you're waiting for the draft in the lobby, there's a little video that'll pop up and play. I kind of like it. And they were saying that last year on Yahoo statistics, the 2-5 had the second most winning percentages for championship teams, which I thought was interesting. So I didn't get the stat from what was the number 1. But.
Drafting from the 3 spot, I feel like when you get that turn, it's nice, but I feel like there's a lot of picks.
You gotta have a lot of foresight. Yeah.
I think I'd rather almost go in the middle. I think I'd rather have the 6th or 7th.
The
pick
5 is nice because what you're planning to happen and get back to you has a bigger likelihood of getting back to you.
For sure.
The best ball was interesting though because we had a lot of people reaching for players. It didn't just go down the board. So excited to see how that shakes out.
Alrighty, I think we're gonna end it here. Thanks everybody for hanging out. If you have more questions, bring them on over to the Discord.
Yeah, appreciate you. Start getting hyped. Football, it's going to be back. It's going to be real. So the next one we're planning is, we might throw up that auction draft, and feel free to hang out with us.
If we don't do the auction, I'm going to try and convince Mike to maybe try and do one more before our next Sunday show, but otherwise we'll for sure see you next Sunday.
A lot depends on the birth of my child.
Exactly.
So
stay updated in the Discord.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Perfect. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time around.
Job's done.
There it is.